Hello everybody. It's so great to see so many faces. So great to be here in person just a couple days before the season opener on Sunday for the Portland Thorns. This is something that we want to be an annual thing, kind of a preseason get-together and a chance to speak to the minds of the club, the minds running the club. I'll introduce everybody. There's some new faces up here. We'll begin with the new CEO of the Portland Thorns and Portland Timbers, Heather Davis.
Hi.
Are these on?
The Vice President of Community and Social Impact, Dr. Robin Beavers. Somebody that you know, I think you probably heard before. We all have. The General Manager, President of the Thorns, Karina LeBlanc. And the new head coach of the Portland Thorns, Mike Norris. So let's get some introductions now, because there are some new faces. We're going to begin with Heather, the top one in charge. Heather, briefly introduce yourself and talk about how you got to this point.
Sure. Hi, everyone. Thanks for being here. This is a great turnout. I love we have a new kit right up front here.
Yes.
Nice. So I'm Heather. I've been at the club since May, in this role in an interim basis since October and permanently in January. I grew up in Aloha. My parents still live in the house I grew up in. I went to Hillsborough High School, though. And the University of Oregon. And then I spent most of my adult life on the East Coast in DC, where I went to law school and I worked in politics and law firms. That's where I got my start in sports, was in my first law firm. And then I lived in New York for a while and worked at the NFL's league office for 9 years, where I did all of their legal work for the international operations and special events. Then I came back shortly after the pandemic to be closer to family, and I'm thrilled to be at this club. This is the job being the lawyer here was the job I always wanted. I didn't know that this was an option. Turns out this is the job I always wanted.
Dr. Robin Beavers.
That light is so bright.
It is.
Ooh, need my
Big time
shades
event.
on today. Hi, everybody. I am also an Oregonian, born and raised here in Portland. Woo!
Wait, Hillsborough didn't get a woo?
I third generation Oregonian. Like I said, born and raised here. Parents have been married over 60 years. Yes, over 60 years. Me and my sisters grew up in Northeast Portland. I graduated from Jefferson High School. Go Demos! Yes. And I have been around Portland for a while, working with youth and families for like the majority of my career before I got into higher ed. That's how I became Dr. Robin. I'm so excited to be here at the club, to be able to bring all of my relationships and experiences working in the community here. I think I'm most excited to have the opportunity to give back to a community that raised me, and being here with the club and using that as the platform. So I'm excited for that. And I'll keep it a little short.
Yeah,
keep it a little short.
We got plenty of questions for you
good,
coming up. Karina, everybody knows who you are, so we're gonna skip over. We got a lot. We'll hear a lot from Karina tonight. Mike, new head coach of the Portland Thorns, Mike Norris. Mike, to tell everybody your background in coaching and how you became the head coach. You know, what kind of the path was to now being the head coach of the Portland Thorns.
Yeah, so a native of the northeast of England, Newcastle, if anybody's ever been there. Then I actually left Newcastle in 2004 just to travel, and somehow I never went back. It wasn't the intent, but just life took us along a journey where I ended up in Vancouver, Canada. Then I spent 15 years there, met a wife, got 2 kids. And then I think just my coaching journey, various roles through youth systems mainly, in the international world, where I held different coaching roles there. Then I got a great opportunity after winning gold medal at the Tokyo Olympics with the Canadian women's national team to come to Portland last year, which I would say was an easy decision, like from a professional standpoint, but it was tough from a family perspective. But yeah, just the opportunity to join the organisation, the team, to hopefully bring more success to what the club already had. And then, yeah, last year was a journey. Just great to join the group. to add to it, and what a journey it was to end that in October. It was incredible. And then now, yeah, it's wow. You've got to pinch yourself. Like sat here in front of you, I'm definitely not natural at this. But yeah, just really honoured and really excited for the year ahead, and just to keep pushing the group on the field and how we can reconnect with the community more.
So the format tonight, when everybody was invited, everybody that was invited was asked to submit questions. So I've got a bunch of questions here that were submitted probably by some of you, also by people who couldn't come but were able to submit questions. So we'll go through a lot of those, and then we'll open it up to Q&A kind of live from all of you here, whatever you want to know from these wonderful people. So let's begin big picture with Karina, with Mike. We are a couple days away from the 2023 season opener for the Portland Thorns. Can you give your kind of like brief, big picture summary of the team, your brief look at this team, this squad heading into this season? The defending champions, I should say, the defending NWSL champions heading into this season.
Brief.
Yeah.
Listen, I think reigning champions, but really humble, really driven to get better. I think that's probably the part they're really excited to defend what we've got, but knowing really we're actually starting the season with nothing at the same time. Just, yeah, it's just really incredible to see how driven they are on a daily basis to come in and bring the attitude they do to push each other to be better. So we're excited to hopefully bring more and hopefully win a little bit better than we did last year.
Already, before the season started, a big win with the kit drop. I imagine most of you have seen the kits, which are wild, they are innovative, they are different. As Heather said, got one in the front row. Karina, this question was submitted for you. What was the inspiration behind the insane and fabulous new kits?
Can you stand up, please, in case anybody hasn't seen it? Woo! Exactly. That's all we have to say. I mean, I think a lot of people have been asking about doing something different. And I remember last year when I saw it was on paper and I was like, this is definitely different. People are going to either love it or hate it. And so what we did is we had Nike come in and explain all the little details of what everything was done and how it was intentional. It is bold. It is very representative of our city and our fans. Some people say it's audacious, but there's details in there that really represent parts of our city. And I think the players, once they saw it, they're like, ooh, oi! And we had Kelly Hubley actually come in and just be like, what do you guys think? So the players find the energy around it, but I think it's definitely different. But it's one of those where I think it's proud to be worn by fans as well as players, and you either love it or you hate it. But it is what it is, and I love it.
Yes. Next question for you, again. Can you give some context to the trade decisions that were made during the offseason?
Yeah, so we traded Yasmin Ryan. Yasmin, as you all know, it was a phenomenal addition to our squad. She came in midway through the year and she had aspirations of potentially being back in New York or any club. She wanted to kind of go to a club where she could be the player. So we talked about it. Obviously, I wasn't too fond of moving anybody within the season because, well, we won a championship. So it was just that the group, and Mike kind of talked about this, the group is so tight, and it's rare that you have such a cohesive, tight group connected on something bigger than themselves. So it was just a continued conversation in the off season. We had the opportunity to get a top draft round pick and some great allocation money. So it was a win-win, I think, for everybody. Yasmin was thankful for the process. We're sad to lose her. We wish her all the best, not too much, with Gotham. And then Marissa retired. And then Abby, she was a free agent. And as a goalkeeper, you want to play, you know, and she's now in New York. I don't know if she will end up being the starter or not, but she wanted the opportunity to play. And we have Bella. We have a new draft pick with Lauren. And then obviously we have Shelby. So a bit biased because goalkeeping is the best position in the world. But yes, but you know, it's a continuation, and Nadine's such a phenomenal goalkeeper coach. I think we will continue the tradition of having great goalkeepers.
Heather, these next two are for you. This question, the submitter was very interested to hear about the future vision with changes in ownership. As a season ticket holder, this person was a season ticket holder for both clubs and has loved the integrated fan experience of being a season ticket holder for both clubs. So can you share a little bit about the future vision with a change in ownership for the Thorns?
Yeah, I think maintaining that integrated fan experience is really an important focus for us in the process. I think we are looking for owners that want to partner with us to continue that sort of one club mentality that we've had for many years. We will always run Thorns game day operations. So from a game day fan experience, I think fans will see very little difference under new ownership. I mean, other than, integrating their own vision and ideas into that. But I think you can expect a lot of the same great experiences that you've always had here.
This next one is similar. It's kind of a follow-up and touches on a little bit of what you just said. Can you describe, for the person who asked, the ideal buyer or buyers of the Portland Thorns? What are you, the leadership team, and the players looking for in future owners? And I think you just answered this question, but will the Thorns stay in Providence Park?
Yeah, so I think we're looking for an ownership group that's going to love this team as much as we love it, and that's going to invest in this team and its continued growth and success. I think it is important to us to find owners that not only have the resources, but the commitment to continue the growth trajectory and the momentum into the second decade of the Thorns. And I think that that's particularly important given the pace of growth and change that this league is experiencing. New owners will have a lot of input into how the NWSL grows and evolves over the next few years. And they're looking at a lot of really dramatic not just growth, but changes. So I think finding owners that care as much about the women's game as we all do is really paramount. And then also, I think I touched on it earlier, but the one club mentality, particularly with respect to our community and philanthropic efforts, has really been the magic of this club over the years. And so finding an ownership group that wants to partner with us and continue that positive impact together here in Portland is also really, really critical. And I mean, as for Providence Park, look, Providence Park is, as far as we're concerned, is and always will be the home of the Portland Thorns.
Woo! Mike, a couple for you. What lessons from the championship run are you bringing forward to lead the team to continued success on the field this year?
We need to be competitive every week. No, we do. I think consistency was a big part for us last year. Momentum was key. We started slow last year, but then we really got a good rhythm through the early middle part of the season. We tapered off 2/3 of the way through the season, and we were able to re-establish momentum again. But the league's too competitive for us not to be consistent. We have to be competing every week, home and away. So there's that. I think from the group, there's a togetherness, which we need to keep. They would be the big ones.
What new players have impressed you so far in the preseason?
Only new. Yeah, I think, jokes aside, I think all the players, when I think about what they've gone through in the off-season, coming back as national champions, just the hunger and, the humbleness, that's just really impressive and something to be admired. Specifically to the new players, I mean, I almost treat Crystal Dunn as a new player. She's been impressive, if anybody was here last week. Murph, to be fair, feels like a new player, wasn't involved much. She's had a really good, impressive preseason. The draft players, Izzy, I think you'll see, is a fighter. She's a scrapper. Has an eye for goal, a natural finishing instinct. And then Raina's exciting. She came in with an injury in preseason, so she was off field for a little while. She was a draft eager to get on the field. She was getting a bit impatient, and then she's come back fit, and then she's almost overly eager. But yeah, what we've seen of her in the short period of time, it's been good. She doesn't look out of place. She's got an energy. She's got a fight. If anybody's seen those Mexican fullbacks, she loves the tackle. So yeah, I think we've been impressed with a lot of players, to be honest.
Robin, how will the club go about better connecting with the wider Portland community in the coming year? And can you tell us, everybody here, about your community plans, not only for 2023, but beyond?
Absolutely. I think Heather mentioned how we've been philanthropic throughout the years. I think one thing that I really want to concentrate on is getting into the community and, community, bringing everybody together and doing things. So it's not just us in the club doing things or having players doing appearances, but actually connecting the fans, connecting our corporate partners, along with all those other entities that we've been doing things in the community all together. So we're really doing things, the true meaning of community. My plans, I've kind of rebooted. That's the word I use. So reboot year. But rebooted our current community platform, which again, for decades, we've been doing great things under the Stand Together platform. We're going to continue to do things under the Stand Together platform for both teams. And in that, we have 4 main focus areas: education, the environment, equity, and health and wellness. Those will be our 4 main focus areas. So over the years, we've always worked with nonprofits and community partners under those areas. It's just going to be a little bit more refined now. But I think the biggest thing for me is just to build on top of what we've already done and just using my community background, huge philanthropic, for the last 7 years. I've been a VP of philanthropy at a nonprofit organization. So just using those connections and using those at the club and really getting us out into the community and doing things. So, yeah.
Karina, there's been high turnover for both the front office and the team staff in the last year. Can you explain the Thorns organization's vision to ensure continuity and stability with the current staff, the current group moving forward? And what kind of development opportunities exist in the Thorns front office for people who want to work in the sports industry?
I think one of the big things that happened in the off season, and I think this is what was hard for staff and players, is a lot of the heaviness happened when we weren't together. So we would be having Zoom calls to try to say, this is what's going on. One of the things we intentionally did was when we all came back together was sat down and had the hard conversations so that everybody felt seen and heard, from the staff and to the players. And I think one of the big takeaways is that this is now our opportunity to move forward in a better way because of what's happened, and not put aside all the hurt and pain that happened, but use it to be better. And I think we have a task force, which Heather put together, where we have some leaders from around the community, from New York. We have one of the players on the task force to look at the investigations and figure out what we can do better. We did anti-harassment training actually in here with the league for 4 hours last week. With the players and with the staff. We're doing a lot of things. We're looking at all of our policies and changing them and making them better. So it's been a very difficult period, but I'll say we've intentionally done a lot of things so that we are better because of it. And it's hard to even say that, but I'm saying that because it's been very intentional to make sure that everybody feels seen and heard through this process, and that we can have those hard conversations and figure out a way to move forward. And it's the opportunity of what we can do now.
That was a big 2-part question that was submitted. So I'll ask kind of that's the second part as well to let you chat about this, is what kind of development opportunities exist in the front office for people who want to work in the sports industry?
You mean from the community or from within?
Yeah, I assume the question is within. So those that are working in the front office to kind of foster their careers in the sports industry.
Heather, do you want to? Maybe
they're better for you, Heather.
I mean, I think we've created. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I think I'm trying to understand the question. I promise I'm not just stalling. I think in the front office, this is probably a representative of the changes that have happened, the opportunities that have been created. I think with the players, one of the things we've said is now that we've gone through this, we continue to say I want one of them to replace me, and we want them to stay in the game. Whether it's just as a coach, I shouldn't say just as a coach, sorry, Mike. Whether
leave?
it's as a coach, sports science, you can now be a CEO, you can now be a president, you can now be a vice president. I think what's happened now is that there's way more pathways and the players are seeing that and they're more interested in it because we're now having more collaborative conversations. Like I just met with the leadership group this week. And it was like, here's what we're doing in every department. Where would you like an opinion and a thought of? And it's more of a collective work. So they now understand what front office is. They understand all the different roles that, even to put this on or on content or, community. I mean, Dr. Robin Beavers has come in and she's been in front of the players. She's connecting with them, saying like, what makes you feel alive? Like, let's not just have you do an autograph session or take a picture. Let's do something that you're passionate about. So I think it's more collaborative work. So they hopefully, you have to see it to believe it, so they can see themselves in it, and I think the game will be better the more players we keep in it. Perfect. But I love coaches. Coaching is important. It's the most important position. No?
Keep digging.
Sorry.
This next question also submitted for you, Karina. Similar to what similar to what you just spoke about, but the question specifically is, how do we move forward as a team, and how do you move forward as a team to be successful with all the turmoil that occurred over the past few years, in particular over the past year?
Well, first of all, we said we had to build the trust back. We had to do it with the staff. We had to do it with the players. Probably we have to do it with some of you. And it's just having those hard conversations and being vulnerable and open in it and putting our hand up of where we could have been better, working with the league. I think that's one of the things. Heather's been in a lot of calls with the league of making sure this does not happen again and what needs to change and what policies needs to be addressed and what have we not thought about. I think it's a collective and collaborative effort across the board of how do we be better and how do we make sure this doesn't happen again. And it's a difficult thing, and it's a continuing. I mean, Mike's probably had to have a lot more heavy conversations with players coming in as a normal first-time head coach, very important head coach, very important position. Sorry, Mike, I'm trying. But I think it's just us being open and vulnerable and saying, you know what, this is where we will be better moving forward. And the players know that we genuinely believe that and trust us now that we mean what we say.
Mike, this next question is for you.
Just the coach.
As the coach, it is.
Can I just clarify? I was just saying you can't just be a coach because most female players, you only thought you could be a coach before. Nah, not helpful.
I get it. I get where it's. So all of the opportunities to work in sports. This is a very specific coaching question, actually, so it's a good follow-up. Is there a way, or I assume what this question is meant to say is, can you share as what the coaching staff, your coaching staff's philosophies around like why you would use one formation rather than another, and how does the availability of players impact that decision? How do opposing teams' players impact that choice? So what I think this question is asking is, as a coach, when you're heading into a match, how do you make that choice, that decision tactically of how to set up your team for that given game?
Okay, could be a while. I love the whiteboards.
I'll hold it.
I think there's a part of my vision of how I see the game, whether it's a direct approach, whether it's possession-based, whether it's a very forward attacking centrally or in wide areas. So I think how you see the game dictates your formation. So if you're wondering, it'll probably most likely be a 4-3-3 this year. Just that'll be a back four basis. I know we changed a bit last year. I'll be very open and transparent. I like to attack down the flanks. I think you'll see from the group I demand of high width a lot, because I truly believe in wide triangles and how you can pull teams wide to then hurt them centrally. And hopefully that's something that you can see when you watch the games. In terms of the personnel that you have, it has to suit them as well. I believe in flexibility. I have a way of how I see the game, but I can't be rigid on that. You have to be flexible to the group that you have and the qualities. Mashing the two of them together, having a clear identity and principles is something that I've tried to instill in pre-season. So in the heat of the moment, players have those principles and the identity to fall back on, and they're not thinking about the X's and O's. So that's something I am pretty heavy on and what I've tried to put forward to the group. Opposition, I think there's definitely a part you have to be aware of it. You've got to tweak, but without losing who we are. It'll be a big piece. I do love strategy and how we adjust, but it does have to be us focused and how we can beat opposition, how we don't get hurt by opposition. But we have to be aware and respectful of what teams can bring and threaten us. But yeah, hopefully a clear identity, flank attacks, forward thinking, goals and clean sheets.
Also for you, Mike, I think, Karina, you may also be able to answer this. What is the expected time frame this season for losing our international or national team players to the World Cup?
June.
June 26th, I think it is, per CBA agreements, and due with that with the league, other associations outside the US national team can ask for their players then as well. So basically we could lose 7 to 8 players as of the 26th of June. From start to finish, that could be 7 games. So I think 4 league games.
He's going to have Robin and I suit up, is what he's saying.
Let's go.
So I think that's, sorry, I'll just elaborate a bit. It's one of the luxuries we have with the roster we have, but at the same time, it's one of the downfalls. So it is something we're aware of, and we're trying to plan and prepare the best we can. We do have a deep roster, so it's opportunities for other players, how we can bring international replacement players in, potential loans, just how we can stay consistent, what I'll come back to, and competitive during that period. If I come back to this year, it was a shorter period of time, but we had 3 games, 2 on the road, 1 at home. We didn't lose any of the games. So it's something we need to work with. On a plus side, hopefully we get people performing and we might lose more, but hopefully not.
Karina, next question for you. Will Lindsay Horan return to the Thorns this season at the end of her loan?
All these easy questions. I mean, Lindsay's such a legend. We're speaking with the agent and Lyon, and I'll keep you guys updated. I actually do not know the answer to that question.
Heather, this is.
I know, me too.
Got to build the drama a little bit, right? This next question, Heather, is similarly a big question that you've gotten a lot. When will Providence Park become a grass pitch?
Yeah, this is everyone's favorite question.
It is, yeah.
I feel like Gio put you up to this, Mike. Is this yours again? Look, we have been, and will continue to look at it. Currently, the pitch gets too much use to be grass, and obviously, there's a lot of complexities with grass, not just the weather here, but I was down at LAFC at BMO Stadium for the Timbers match, and I could not believe the amount of equipment that you have to store to maintain that grass pitch, and that's in LA. All the grow lights, all of that stuff. I don't even know where we would store that in an old stadium like this. So there's a lot of interesting complexities that we would have to look at, but one of our focus areas for the Thorns sale process is helping to continue to advance the search for a training facility for the Thorns and making sure that the new owners are invested in completing that project. So once the Thorns are practicing in their own facility, I think we'll pursue grass a little bit more aggressively, but it'll be a project for sure.
Robin, next question for you. How do you work with the Thorns players to include them in the club's community efforts?
Oh my. Well, Karina, KKK? No?
We were talking about that earlier. There's only one K in your name, but
It's a Robin question.
KK.
Sorry.
That's also drama.
You know, one of the things for me and doing community is not just, we have our 4 pillars, right? But then we also have the players, and I'm interested in what they're interested in. I want everything that we do to be authentic. So it isn't just, oh, you got to show up at this nonprofit, or you got to show up at that nonprofit. And then we get a picture and someone's going like this, because that's not what they're interested in, right? And these women are engaged. They want to be engaged. Ever since I had the first meeting, in front of them, they've been in my inbox. KK doesn't even know, like, all these requests. I'm like, which is great. I love the enthusiasm. And they're brilliant, they're creative, they're innovative off the field and the things that they want to get into. And so using my background and, knowing all the different scope of the philanthropic world throughout the whole state and being able to place them where they're interested, as well as uplift our pillars that we have. There's one huge thing that we're doing this season with Nationwide Insurance. It's through the league. And they have this huge program where you select a player to be an ambassador for a cause that's important to the club and to the player as well. And so this year, we are going to partner with Smart Reading. And Rocky Rodriguez is going to be our ambassador. And so that's one of the things that I'm really, really excited about. I mean, we met with the Smart representative, and of course, I'm taking it a whole nother level. We really only have to do one event. I'm like, the kids need more than one event. I mean, they need somebody to read to them every day. So we've got this big plan, which includes, you guys get your books ready or go find some books, which includes collaborating with the Children's Book Bank and collecting books. So I'm really excited about that. But as I said before, man, these players have so many interests, and just being able to integrate their interests into our community program, I think, will benefit all.
I just want to add to that because, for example, Taylor Porter, she reads a book a day. So she'll sit there on a plane and just finish it. And it's the connecting that passion of the players have into the community, as Dr. Robin Beavers is talking about, where you'll see them more engaged and just really loving their time and that reason for being a Portland Thorn.
Very cool. Heather, this is another popular question. Why did it take so long for the NWSL season schedule to come out while the MLS one comes out months earlier?
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, that's a frustration for everyone, let me tell you. Obviously the NWSL season starts a little later, so I'll give them a little bit of grace on that. But honestly, I think it just comes down to how incredibly complex the scheduling process is, especially because most NWSL teams don't control their own stadiums. So that creates additional complexity. But, the league office has grown a lot this year, and this is an issue that they're focused on trying to improve next year. And they've made a lot of really impressive improvements in their organization and their staff and their strategy. So I think we'll see some improvements on that next year.
Robin, any update on another PTFC for Peace match?
Don't boo
She
me.
gets all the fun ones.
They might boo me because there won't be one for 2023. Listen.
Women's World Cup through a whole...
Exact. There's so many cups. There's a cup for everything. There's a happy cup, a sad cup, a Nike cup. I mean, Jesus, how many cups are there? Just kidding. But I will say this. PTFC it was PTFC for Peace back last year. It was such a huge hit. We're bringing it back in 2024. And 2024, we're going to have a huge environmental focus. So it'll be PTFC for, I don't know, we might have a naming contest. Maybe the winner gets a suite.
Okay. I thought I already named it. I thought I was already the
Food and beverage on Heather? No, I'm just kidding. Okay, but it's going to be like PTFC for green or PTFC for nature. I don't know. If you guys got some ideas for roses, I don't know. For something.
I already said PTFC for Earth. I thought I won this contest, Robin.
Oh, my bad. It's the boss wins.
Yeah, right.
She gets the suite. But we're bringing it back. It's a huge hit. We'll probably realistically do it every other year, because it is a little bit, not in a bad way, but like a huge lift. And we want to make sure that we do it right and that it's for a cause that makes, that's a big cause that everyone can get into. So, yeah. 2024.
I mean, what a special event that was, right?
Yes.
What a special day. And it's great that it'll be back. Mike, the question is, are we going to have VAR this season in the NWSL video review, which I think we know the answer to. And I guess, so can you explain what that's going to do to the league?
Is it clear and obvious?
I think it is, yes. I think it is a clear and obvious yes or no answer here, yeah.
So yes, there is going to be VAR this season. I think it's a huge step. It's a massive step forward for the league. I think for the game, we did have a trial run here in the game versus Louisville. And then I will say we had a presentation with the league referees the next day. They were just presenting. So they were presenting basically on how it was going to operate, the reason behind it, the processes, how they come around the decisions, and everything was on clear and obvious. So I did ask the official there. I said, were you at the game last night? And then he dodged the question massively. So yes, it's going to be there. I think it'll add a bit more drama. Hopefully not too much on the negative side for us. We've prepped the players for it. Hopefully we will be a team that does try and persuade the referees, but in a very respectful manner. And I've asked that of the players, because if anybody's watched the World Cup, it's not pretty scenes, to be honest, and I don't want to be a coach of that team. So hopefully the players can live by that, and I can live by that. Because, yeah, I know the emotions get to it, but we're not going to change anything. So that's going to be the game. More drama, probably more penalties, more red cards, more controversy, but we'll live with it. It's for the benefit of the game.
Mike, what do you see? This question is, what do you see as the biggest hurdle to professional player growth this year? Which is kind of an open-ended question, but maybe I think you could speak of your philosophy of players growing and what a biggest hurdle is for players to kind of make jumps in their careers.
Okay, I'm pleased you elaborated there, because I think growth can be a big piece, and I do think we grow every day. So I think how we interact as a group, time's always going to be an issue on the field. We want more time with the players want more time with the schedule we have, the travel. We never have enough time to get on the field, but it doesn't deter from the growth part. And I do think it's how we ask questions of each other, how we be curious, how we support the players through video, just trying to get them to be more curious with their teammates. But biggest hurdle, it's time, but it's an easy excuse. So it's one that we can't use, and we've just got to be really efficient with the time that we have with each other to make sure that we're pushing.
This is the last question now that was submitted beforehand, prepared beforehand to ask. And after that, we'll open it up to everybody here to ask questions live. And it's for Karina. This submitter says, the Challenge Cup seems gimmicky to this person. And the fact that we all contort ourselves to this tournament because it served so well, served us all during the height of the COVID pandemic in the bubble. What's your perspective regarding getting the most value out of these games, the Challenge Cup?
Gimmicky, okay. I think I would go off of what Mike said. It's the growth opportunity. I think as a team, it's clear that we want to win everything as a club. So that's the Shield, the Championship, and Challenge Cup. So
We're not greedy.
woo! Somebody did, yeah. just not greedy, just saying. But I think that's it. So we see that as an opportunity to grow, but also an opportunity to make our name globally known as the team that wins championships.
So those were all the questions submitted beforehand that we had prepared. And now we have an opportunity to open it up here. So we've got, I think, at least one microphone going around. Yeah, raise your hands, and we'll start right here. We'll get to everybody.
How are we going to replace Janine?
Wow, you guys. Well, I mean, first of all, it's so hard for a player to injure yourself no matter what. And it's even hard on a World Cup year. And Janine's been such a valuable asset in addition to the squad. I think everybody in that moment prayed it wasn't that outcome. But she, to be fair, has been fantastic. She's still a leader, full voice on the team. It's difficult for her, and I'm just saying this because I think we all have gone through an emotional week with her. We're looking at potentially bringing in somebody. The open trade windows ends in a month. One of the positive things is having such a deep squad and such a good coach. There you go. But I think it's just continually what we always do, the processes of where do we need depths, what position we need depth. We have some of our staff in the room right now who are 24/7 looking at that. And I think it's just continuing the process of how do we continue to give him a challenging squad to make that first 11, but then also make sure if something like this happens, we're not panicking, but we're like, okay, stick to the process. Do you want me to?
Yeah, I think it's an intimate setting, right? Yeah.
So up to last year, I was an usher in the fan experience group. And I know that as an usher, a Timber game was very different than a Thorns game. Timber game, you're on edge the whole game. Thorn game, it's a family affair, it's a party and everything. So because of that unique identity, because I worked with the ushering group, the fan experience folks, would you consider a different dress for the folks so that they're yellow for the Timbers and maybe a red or something for the Thorns game? And secondly, public address announcer. I would suggest that you maybe consider a female voice. I mean, an Annie Schatz or somebody like that who the community knows.
That's a really interesting idea. Yeah, I think Ashley Highsmith is our new chief operations officer. She's been at the club for a long time, 18 or so years, but was recently promoted to overseeing all of stadium operations. And her and Jim Blocker are across our fan experience, and they're always looking for new ways to improve that. I met with our fan experience supervisors a couple weeks ago, and they were super enthusiastic and excited to be back, but also have like good recommendations and things that we're going to look at. So that's an interesting point, and I like the idea on the PA announcer. I think that's an interesting thought that no one had yet. So we'll have to look into that.
And as a plug,
Yeah.
and as a plug, the fan experience needs more people. So anybody you know.
Well, man, yeah, exactly. That's exactly right. The labor shortages have been real in the last couple of years. That's easing up a little bit, but yes, that is a good plug.
Hi, thank you so much for doing this. This is super exciting, and I love that we're all here. I have kind of a two-pronged question, and it actually relates to the fact that I'm a general as well as a child and adolescent psychiatrist, and so I think about mental health and caring for our young people and all people in that arena. And I'm just wondering if you have resources that are available for the team. Some of them, I know over the past 2 years, they've had their own sort of things that have come up for them personally, and then with all the turmoil. And so what resources there are, and then, if you're interested in additional thoughts around that, I would love to offer my expertise.
Woo! No, we 100% have invested more in that space. We now have several options for the players because sometimes, and I know this being a former player, like what works for one player does not necessarily work for all the players. So they have several resources for them to go to. It's absolutely a priority for us. The league also has mandated some stuff with the CBA. So the league's also seen this as a very important space, but we 100% agree. And it's not just about the development of them as an athlete, but as a person, And I think it's so important that we're here to allow them to live out their dreams, but also prepare them for life and for everything that they've been through on and off the field. We recognize that and the importance of it.
Do you have a question? Sorry, you had your hand up.
Sure. Yeah, I just, I know media can often control a lot of how we feel about something, what happened. Sometimes they say what happened without us even knowing actually what happened. And you might not be able to speak for all the players. They might all have different opinions. But personally, I wonder if selling is in their best interest. And so things went wrong, but I wonder, is the press, the media, the Facebook, so on, it's like sell, sell, sell. But is that how the players feel?
That's a tough one.
KK didn't even lift her mind.
I mean, I think I would say two things to that. One is, we wanted to be as respectful as we could of the space that the players needed last year. I think one thing that you heard from them, you heard it from Coach Wilkinson last year too, is that there was a sense across the league that the players were often the ones that were put in the position of having to answer questions about these investigations and about these systemic issues. And so we didn't want to put them in the position of having to make those decisions or feel like they had to make those decisions. So we did talk to them a lot. We talked to them before the decision. KK has talked to them a lot throughout the year. And so we felt like we kind of knew enough to know, where most of them stood. And to be honest, I don't know that they thought it was kind of their place to really make those decisions. I think they want to play for a team. They love this team. They love the city. They wanted us to do what we thought was best. And I think for us, the growth trajectory of the league, the way the league is changing, it felt like giving a fresh voice at that league level to give them the best opportunity to grow and improve going forward and be part of that really massive change just felt like the right thing to do in going into the second decade. And I think the players have been supportive of that. They know first and foremost that what we care about is finding a good owner that is going to be a steward of this club and that's going to love this club as much as all of us have always loved it. So I think they feel confident in that.
So the events from the last couple years have been really difficult, as we've been talking about, for the players, the organizations, but also the fans. And so you've explained what you've done with the players and you've been talking about as an organization, how you're going forward. I was wondering if you could address what your thoughts are around interacting with the fans and specifically like 107. And then in addition to that, are there any plans for how the Thorns organization will use their experience to help influence the NWSL so that other clubs and specifically other players don't have to go through similar situations?
Yeah, so I think we really want to reconnect with our fans throughout and our community. I think we lost a lot of that over the pandemic and the last 3 years for a lot of reasons. And so we're looking at new and innovative ways to try and connect with our fans. This is an example, the Thorns Fan Forum, same thing. And I think we're going to try and figure out ways to do more of that. For us, my message to the staff has been that our job is to come in every day and try and figure out how we can get just a little bit better. It's not that different than what Mike and KK say to the players. Like, that's our focus. We're going to come in. We're never going to be perfect. We're going to try and be perfect, but you're not going to attain that. You just got to do a little bit better every day and hold yourselves accountable. And that's what the fans too. And I think our door is open, with the 107ist and with all the supporters groups for, feedback and ways that we can reconnect with the fans in new ways. I forgot the second part of your question though. Oh, yeah. So, yeah, I mean, we are in regular contact with the league. The task force that Karina mentioned earlier, one of the things that we're going to do as that concludes its work is have Commissioner Berman talk to them because they have a lot of ideas and input into league level investigative processes and policies that we think would be really beneficial. And like we've said before, I mean, I think the reports showed this is a problem that has been very systemic in the sport at every level. It is going to require systemic solutions. Those will be a process. It's not going to be quick. the league has already done a lot, but it will have a lot more to do. And we're trying to be as involved and part of that solution as we can be. And so that's one, immediate step that we're going to be taking.
Can I selfishly say, I want to connect with the fans from a community standpoint. That's one of my goals here. I want to get out there and cheer because I used to be a cheerleader. True story, I used to cheer in this stadium back in the day. I was a cheerleader out there. But, one of the things that I am looking to implement, if not this year, then for 2024, remember this is a reboot year, but is that I want to have quarterly community conversations with the fans. So it's something similar, maybe not just like this. You don't got to sit like this, but maybe you can have a drink and we can just have a chat. But I want to share what we're doing in the community. As well as hear your voices. And then the other thing is we're looking to have a quarterly community newsletter that goes out to the fans. But definitely want to connect. Reach out to me, find me online. I am happy to share what we're doing in community as well as hear what all of you would like to do. But I just wanted to selfishly say that for community. So
I'll add something too. I think part of this club and the best part of the club are all of you. And the players know that. This is why I came back. You see me before the game walking through. Honestly, it reminds me why I do what I do. Because it's the little conversations I have, it's the little pounds I'm doing because I recognize some of you and it's such a beautiful thing because your voices are so loud and powerful in a way that re-energizes us when we may be having the worst day and it's just you're there and you're it's she said selfishly, when I'm going through the crowd, I'm just wanting to hug each and every one of you and thank you for showing up for the players, for showing up for our city, for women's game has grown and congratulations to all the other cities who are doing what you guys helped us do for a decade. But it's you guys who brought us here. So I just want to thank you for that.
So just being very transparent, coming back when we reported for pre-season, we didn't know how the group was. We put some time into trying to figure out how to acknowledge what happened. Didn't know how that was going to go. Very new for me, and I hope nobody ever has to do those types of conversations. I've learned a lot about myself and as a coach through that period, but we didn't even talk football. There was no football spoke. It was clear that we had to acknowledge what did happen, what needs to be spoken around, how do we move forward individually and as a group. So that was all first and foremost what we did, and we knew we would never fix that in 1 or 2 meetings. It was never going to be that. It still is a continual healing process and one where we just try and get better. Just not on the field, but just how we operate and how we feel about the day-to-day. I think they're in a good space. I really do. The sad part is everything of this is who they are as people now. They've had to live through it. They'll be stronger for it. They'll have scars for it. But yeah, I think they're in a space where everybody wants to move forward, but not forgetting what has happened, but knowing that we do just have to move forward in a more positive space. We have to impact things better, not just for us, but for the rest of the game and the rest of people. So yeah, I feel like we're in a good spot heading in. Are we perfect? No, but I think we're in a spot where the players are ready to get back on the field, back in front of yous. Yeah.
In the back. Yeah.
I've been a Thorns fan. My family's been a Thorns fan since 2013. We have season tickets, and we have a space up here that we are always at. So we love the Thorns. We went to the championship in Washington, D.C. And yeah, my question is a kind of a tactical question, and it's just something I've been observing lately. When Sophia's in, it's one thing, but when she's not, it seems to me that playing direct is like a pass to the other team. And the possession game is very scary. How do you get away from that?
Okay. Are you referring to the 3 games we just played?
Yes.
Okay. So I would say of the 3 games we just played, we never won a first half. So I think there's an element of first game was our first competitive 90 minutes. Use it as an excuse, maybe, but we didn't get any flow. Possession, second halves we've won. Sophia Smith wasn't on the field in all 3 of the second halves. Against OL, we definitely struggled in the first half in build-up. We definitely did. It's not a direct game we're trying to play. I think we probably overplayed into midfield against the Rain. Something we tweaked at half-time was just asking the front 5 players to be more off the back shoulder of midfielders. So it would be a bit more varied in how we played and actually stretch them a little bit more. I think Sinky, when she played the 9, she linked the game better than what Izzy did as a 9. But yeah, it's not our intent to be direct, but we need to be more versatile in terms of playing in front of teams and behind. And I would say Soph, even when she is on the field, can become very isolated if we play direct. But that's not our intent. We just get stuck that way sometimes. So it's something we're working towards, trying to be better in build-up. I think more versatile, less predictable. So I feel like we are pretty predictable at times. Ball goes to fullback, we get stuck on the side. Like, we're aware of that, and how we're trying to fix that is something. I don't know if that answers your question.
Yeah, we'll move this side.
Hi. Given everything that came out in the various investigations, KKU specifically mentioned a lot of great things that the organization is doing. I feel like a lot of the community is looking at your initiatives page, and it hasn't been updated since October 22. And how can you win me back, because I'm not ready to come back until I truly see these changes come to light. And I think a lot of the community, at least my community, is looking for similar answers.
Yeah, so, I mean, with respect to the website, we are going to revamp all of that, and admittedly, that's on me for not having done yet. Just a long list. But, I mean, I think that, you know, we want to continue to find ways to communicate what we're doing, you know, whether it's on the website or in venues like this. Like I said, I think we're going to continue to just do the work every day, and some of that's going to be behind the scenes. I mean, this is, you know, we are in a lot of ways similar to the companies that probably you all work for. We have HR processes and we have back office functions, and we're going to do the work every day, and that's not going to always be forward-facing and visible. I think, you know, a message for me to the staff has been, there's only so much talking we can do about it. We really have to walk the walk and do the work and hold ourselves accountable. I mean, as difficult as the end of last year was for this team, I think that is also what accountability looks like and what progress looks like. And I think the way we handled those investigations, the way the league handled those investigations, and the way we've moved forward and gotten better from that is what everyone expects from us. And I think it shows the progress.
Let me tell you a couple of things that we've done, though, because sometimes I always tell them, so I've only been here, you guys, for almost 5 months. Now, it seemed like 5 years. And they did win a championship. So that's all great. But I told them I expect that again this year. So, Mike, get ready? Okay. But there are some great things that the club has been doing actually since 2015, right? They've done something, especially in the last 3 years, since post-pandemic, as a club, entire club. And one of those things, they've worked with 2 outside organizations, Construct the Present and workplace change on some of their equity and DEIB, diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging initiatives in response to some of the things that have been happening. So those are a couple of things that they've done. I always say they hired me because, they need me to help them out a little bit in the community, but that's okay. But in that, I mean, some of the things that have come out of that, we've had, I don't have the graphic in front of me, so sorry, it's the end of the day and I can't remember numbers right now. But there's been a number of hours of training that's gone on, whether it's anti-harassment, equity training that we've done. They did a cultural study, which a lot of the new positions and the changes that you've seen were a result of that cultural study. We've come up with, which is a thing that you will see on the website once we get it revamped, we've come up with an equity statement, and it's called the PTFC Way. And the one thing that you'll really appreciate about that is, yes, it's words, but it's also, it talks about one of the lines is like, words without action cause harm. So it's aspirational, but it's also actionable. And it's something that we're all holding ourselves accountable to. We're going to hold you all accountable to that, and we hope you all hold us accountable when you see this, when it's released. Now we've, things take time to roll out a little bit because we wanted to make sure that we rolled it out to our staff and that they all understand it. It's being rolled out in soccer ops to the team so that they understand it and that we live it. And a group, we have a DEI group that even before I came that was formed, and it's made up of players, of executives, of just staff from all over. It's about 16 people. They came up with this statement, working with workplace change, and just based off all the information that they provided, they created this statement. But it's something, when you say, how are we moving forward, or what are some of the things that we've done? There are some actionable things. I mean, everybody hasn't seen those things yet, but there are some things that I think we'll start to, roll it out. But you're right. We don't want to just be about just words. We want to do it right. So I would just ask you, just be patient. It's coming. But I have an infamous saying since I've been here, like, hey, you either part of the problem or you part of the solution. We are moving forward. Portland is, y'all know what Portland looked like. This is the one thing, soccer, that could bring Portland all together. But we can't do that if we don't all do it together, y'all. So I know all that stuff happened, but let's move forward together. We're better together. We're listening. We are evolving. Let's go. Can I get a woo, KK? Woo!
Try to get to as many people as you can. I feel like Jen Psaki up here trying to deal with the White House press corps. We'll go here we made you model the jersey earlier, so yeah, you get the question.
Just kind of a piggyback on top of everything you've been discussing as far as initiatives. When you're creating these goalposts or these milestones and trying to get this going, has the league actually limited you in any way? And I think that could be kind of a controversial thing, right? When talking about the relationship with the league, because it's a greater entity that you want to do certain things a little more progressively, a little more forward, and then there's like this hierarchy above you that says, wait a minute, not so fast. So have you yet encountered, or are you encountering behind the scenes that you can say has been challenges to those goalposts or those challenges? Because I feel a particular pride in this club because we are so unique and we have such a stalwart foundation to what it's been to this point. So has there been any conflict, specifically because of the dynamism of how much has happened here in turmoil, but also in the league itself?
It's an interesting question. I think certainly. Oh, sorry. The question is, have we faced any sort of obstacles or challenges put up by the league in our efforts to make positive change coming out of the last year? And I think I would say certainly not intentionally. The league is very much focused on these issues. Systemic reform is an important initiative for them. They're focused on not just in this ecosystem, but at each of the clubs, and then also at U.S. Soccer and the youth system, frankly, because a lot of these problems start at that level. And just in that description, you can see how complex the soccer ecosystem is in this country, and it's much more intertwined. So other sports, have high school club basketball, football, but there's not quite the same governance structure that oversees all of that. And so there's complexities, no question about it. And I think that will be the challenge for the league going forward, is how do you institute meaningful systemic reform in a pretty complicated ecosystem with a lot of different constituencies and governing bodies. I also think that there's, it's just, there is some complexities given the structure of the league. So the players are employed by the league, not by the clubs. So those things, those are nuances that those of us that are lawyers are a little bit more attuned to, but it does make it hard, and it makes it so that you do have to be really thoughtful and deliberative in how you put together these policies and these processes. And that's why I think you'll see that it's going to be very much a journey for everyone, and it will always kind of evolve a little bit, and we'll learn from each iteration and have to make adjustments as we go along.
I'd like to switch topics and ask a question about the league and the more positive. As a parent of youth athletes, it's been really exciting to see my children grow up with professional women soccer players. It's been a highlight. A couple of you have mentioned about some of the positive things that are happening in the league, and I know that there's the expansion teams and many good things that I can see. Are there things you're able to share that we can look forward to in the league, or is that sort of more of a general statement that just is growing?
Let me see. Yeah, I mean, I think you touched on a few of them. I mean, frankly, like things like VAR are a huge step up for the quality of competition. The expansion teams are going to be another really big growth point for the league that I think will improve competition, will improve the attractiveness of the league for international players. I know that they're thinking through a lot of different possible ways to bring more international talent here, how to be. I think we all feel like the NWSL is the best women's league in the world, but obviously there are a lot of really great women players. We have most of them on our team apparently, but I think there's like one or two from other countries that might also be really good. So they're looking at ways to, to attract that talent. I think that the CBA was a big step forward for the league and for the sport. And I think you'll see that also evolve in the next iteration to be an even bigger level up for women and the women's game. So I think there's a lot of really great things on the horizon. The growth and pace of change in this league is extraordinary. It is very much still a young league. So, it's still in its kind of teenage years, I guess you could say. And there's a lot to come. So I think the future is really bright.
I just want to touch on the point where you said, like your daughter, I think it's also the intentional engagement with that next generation. You just saw EA Sports. Now these players, people can go play their teammates or the next generation. I know my daughter's in here. Hi, Paris. Just had to, but just having a young girl and the fact that week in, week out, these players, we have our academy players out right now, week in, week out, they get to go on the weekend and see their heroes or sheroes and get to study them and look at what role models look like and how they act. I think that's something that the league is intentionally diving into even further, because I think this next generation, it's an important point in time of how do we make people better because of us, and we're recognizing and owning that. And I think it's truly special. Like these women, them, they inspire us all to be better versions of themselves or of ourselves. But I think the league's really leaning into that. And you see like EA Sports, it just came out. The players love it, but you're seeing that next generation playing it. And it's I think that's where you're going to see a major shift as well too. More teenagers too. Exactly. And I love the color of your hair.
Time for a few more questions. I think we can go until 7:30. We'll go back to this side. Yeah.
My question is, Reina, we have 2 signed draft picks, but we're missing
The question was about signing.
Yes.
That's Karina.
That's a very easy thing, which we were trying not to publicly. She was injured. And as Mike said, like our investment is longer term for her. So we didn't want her to come in and feel forced to train to get that contract. The league rules is it's 60 days once they're healthy. Right now, she has a contract with her agent, SBA. We didn't want to rush her because of a press release. We wanted to take our time with her, but she will be a Thorn. This is not that we're not going to get Reina. It was just intentional of us going at the pace of the player rather than the press release. Don't worry.
Right here.
A little close.
So I have just a coaching question.
I thought we crossed that bridge.
So coffee is a very important part of the midfield. And I noticed in the OL game, they put Lavelle on her and sort of made situation difficult in the middle, getting the ball in and out, getting the play work. And I was just curious what your plans are if other teams, use the same strategy.
Well, we've got more than just Sam, I think, is that. I think we didn't help ourselves to help Sam in the first half against Rain. All our midfield was dropping too deep. We were just bringing more pressure onto Sam, bringing more pressure onto the centre-backs. So I think it's how we adjust. Sam's a very intelligent player. We're working on some flexibilities in terms of how she can play forward more. She's very good in the tight, but we'd love to see her play the furthest pass forward a bit more often. But yeah, we've got more tools than just Sam. So I think if a team wants to take Sam out of the game, it's going to probably take more than one player. Or if they're using one of their quality players, we've got other players that can exploit the space.
Yeah, so I know you're focused mainly on the senior team, but I'm curious about your thoughts of the youth program. Just in general, do you have plans for strengthening and developing that program so that you have more players like Olivia Moultrie playing in the academy and transitioning to playing in the senior team?
Yeah, I mean, I've spent this last week, I was probably out of the academy twice. I'm excited about the future of the club. I mean, you look at how many of our players are going to university, and then there's now new rules around U18. And I think with the experience with Olivia, we're going to be very intentional. I mean, other clubs are signing some young players, and that's great for them too. We've had some lessons that we've learned along the way, but I think the importance of the academy is massive for us, not only for what we've talked about of just have them being around and having pride with being a Thorn, and that's their dream, but using it as a development tool and potentially a recruiting tool now that we can hopefully get to the homegrown rule. And we're one of the few clubs who have invested in an academy for this long, and we intend to continue to do that.
Thank you all so much for coming. This is such a great event. We will see you all on
everyone.
Sunday right here at Providence Park.
Woo! Go
Thanks to Heather, to Robin, to Karina, and to Mike. And thank you all.
Woo! I like your jersey. Wow. I'm taking